Hi guys, hello again and welcome back. This week we are going to be talking about lists in Python. So, without further ado, let's begin. So we've seen all throughout the year, you can make variables in programming like x equals 5, name equals Steve, all kinds of stuff like that. But what if you want to have a list of something? Well, one array is not, or one variable is not going to cut it because one variable can only store one thing at a time. So we make what's called an array. And the way it works is we will have the square brackets. So right beside the P key on your keyboard, you have the curly braces, but there's also the square brackets that's without hitting the shift. So let's just call this something like nums equals, instead of a number, instead of saying like, oh, 5, we're going to use the square brackets. And now we're going to put a list of numbers. Let's put a couple perfect squares. Let's go with 1, 4, 9, 16, and 25. Close it off, just like there's parentheses, left parenthesis, right parenthesis. Just plop that in there, and hey, it's a list. Let me print it out. Is it like a variable? Can I just print it out? Well, let's find out. Do lists in Python. Holy cow. Yep, you can print it out. Now, it does have the commas, it has the bracket there. We'll talk about later on how to access each number from there, but for right now, I just wanted to give you the idea here. Yeah, you can store an entire list of data using the square brackets, and there's really no difference in the way you create it from variables, obviously with just use the square brackets. You can also have a list of names. Let's say people equals square brackets. And then in quotes, because you're using strings, let's go with Amy, Ben, Carrie. Print people. And wait for it. Check it out. Hey, now you have two lists. So what else can you do with this? Well, with an array, if I want to print out the variable, I just print the variable. I just say print x or something like that. But here, when you print out the list, you're printing out everything. So what if you want just one number, just one name from the list? Well, here is probably the most important thing I'm going to tell you about this. In lists, the first element would be the thing in the list. In the list has an index. So element is the thing itself. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. Amy, Ben, Carrie, they're the elements of the list. The index would be the position. Just like in Excel or any other spreadsheet program like Google Sheets, they're numbered A1, B1, C1, or A2, B2, C2. These are numbered also. So again, the most important thing about this, the first element in the list has an index, a position of 0. They're not numbered, like first, second, third. They're numbered starting at 0. Because, going back to binary, the first bit would be 0, 0, 1, not 1. And you don't want to waste that first bit. So it does have a position of 1. Now, what does that mean? Like, who cares? Well, let me show you. If I print nums, brackets, 0, what you're saying is print the 0 with, and yes, that's a thing, print the 0 with element from the list called nums. So it's going to print the number 1. If I say print people 0, that's going to print out Amy. So let me run this. And it will give me the whole thing, but then 1 and Amy. So it does in fact give you elements from the list when you put the specific position in here. Okay? Now we gotta be careful. Do not go out of bounds using an index. Again, index is position, which is too small or too large. Now, if lists start at 0, you don't want to go negative. You also don't want to go too high. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't go to position 5. 0, 1, 2. Don't go to position 3. Let's just try and see what happens if I say print people, square brackets, 5. Are there 5 people? No, of course not. So what happens? When you try this, index out of range. Makes sense, right? Like there is no position 5, so excuse me. You don't want to go out of bounds. So don't do that. So let me comment that out. What if I do print people -1? Carry. How did that happen? Well, do you see it? Carries the last element in the list. If you start counting at 0, 1, 2, if you start counting positive, it's going to count left to right. So 0, 1, 2. If I go -1, oh, it's from the right side. So if I want to go backwards, I can use negative numbers. So when I say don't use too large, that's bad. It's going to crash. Using negative numbers is going to give you a little bit different outcome. So I should kind of modify this. Don't give you something which is too large. But then down here, if you attempt to use a negative index, it will start counting from the right side rather than the left. So it's a little interesting factoid about this. Okay, so let's go back. Let me run this real fast. So I go back to what I was saying here. If I want to print out one thing at a time, I can do that. Just print out num0 or print out people0. But if I print out the whole thing, it prints out everything with the square brackets, with the commas. What happens if I want to do something with it without having to show me that extra stuff? Like I don't want to use the quotes here. I don't want to use the commas. How can I do that? Well, it goes back to what we did with for loops. You might have caught me saying it a couple minutes ago. This is position 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Does that sound familiar at all? It goes from 0 to 4 if you have 5 things. That's what we talked about with range 5. Remember I said, like, this might not make sense to you as to why this is the case. Whenever you see lists, a for loop is likely not far behind because for, and let's go n, in the range of 5 things, print nums n. For p in range 3, print people p. There are 5 numbers, so print out one at a time. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 3 people. 0, 1, 2, so print out person. 0, 1, 2. So how do you access all of the things without the brackets, without the quotes, without the commas? You use a for loop. That's why the range is set up to act like that. Okay. Now there's plenty more to do with lists. There's a lot more commands out there. Let me just show you a few more things you can do. Let's say I want to total these numbers together. Okay, well, you're using an accumulator, so total equals 0. For n in the range of 5, total equals total plus nums n. And when you're done, print the total of the numbers in the list is comma total. So check it out. When I run this, the total of the numbers is 55. Is it 55? Well, 16 and 4 is 20. 9 and 1 is 10, so 20 and 10 is 30. 30 and 25 is 55. So that was kind of nice, right? Well, watch this. Now that we have a list, remember all year long I've told you, hey, you can't use sum. Guess what? Sum is the command. What's the sum of nums? Could it be that simple? Could the sum of nums, is it going to just magically add all these numbers together for us? It does. There are lots of nice commands once you put things into a list. Sum is just one of them. Rather than using a bit of code, you can use a command because you've used a different kind of variable. A variable type that we call a list. We'll continue this more on the next video.